Okay, all right. Just had to make sure that everything was on. So, I was about to start resolving stuff for today, up to, I believe, 0900 is today's report. But then I realized I never explained the plan to you guys, or at least never in a separate video. So I figure I'll explain the Allied plan, explain the German deployment a little bit, and then give kind of a recap, if you will, of what's been happening so far. This is just going to be 20 minutes, nothing too fancy. We'll save the whole recap for the final debrief, which will probably be split into many parts. Not many, but a few parts, because I want to go in depth with the players. And there will probably be a lot of retrospective videos made about the game, where we interview players, get people from both sides to come together and talk about what it was like to fight each other and what they were thinking. So I have some fun stuff planned for after this game is over. So this series is far from done. But I figured that you all deserve an explanation, at least in the major points, of the Allied operation, their plan. And so here we have it, the last iteration of their planning module, which they created. I had created this stitched-together version of the Normandy map when I realized that putting a company down on this map would make it microscopic in size. I decided to go for the 4 quadrants approach, but the Allies used the same stitching to do their planning. So here we have the last iteration of their planning module, and it's slightly different. There are a couple minor changes to the plan that happened in between, but nothing significant. So this is going to be pretty accurate to what the final outcome of their planning was. And I can just explain those differences easily here anyhow. So, well, you see that the whole Allied operation is centered around a coup de main on Cherbourg. Cherbourg is the objective. They want to cut off the peninsula and prevent the Germans from keeping a corridor to Cherbourg open through the remainder of June 6th. So the idea is to cut the peninsula into, take Cherbourg, and then press out southeast. In order to do this, though, right, they're landing on both sides of the peninsula. The British taking the west coast of the peninsula, and the Americans taking the east coast. So the British have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Wait, no, 1, 2... I should be... Yeah, so 1, 2, 3... 4, 5, 6 divisions landing, and the Americans have 3. So as you can already see, there's a couple more divisions here than there were historically, though there's also an extra German division, so be it. It isn't perfectly accurate to the historical D-Day, but means that there's more players, so kind of fun anyhow. Anyhow, as you can see, it's cutting the peninsula in two. Who's doing what exactly? So let's go into each corps' kind of objective list. The 51st, 30 Corps here in the south are taking the main beaches. They're the biggest corps of any of the Allied corps. They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divisions under them. First Corps, by comparison, has 1 division and 2 divisions and a couple brigades. So, and then the American Corps have 7th Corps has 3, but 2 of those are airborne, and 5th Corps has 2 infantry divisions. So 30 Corps is by far the largest corps here in this operation. 51st, the Highland Division, their objective is to take Granville, where they've been informed there is a artillery battery, to secure this beach. This artillery battery would be able to provide a huge disruption to any beach landing here. Which is true. There is a German artillery battery. This is kind of their point to hawk, in a sense. They have to take Granville. Then they press out eastward. If I can, I'll draw some lines. And the idea is to cover this southern flank here. And you can see kind of the phase line. The purple line is where they want to be optimistically, at the end of day 1. And so they want to establish a front line from north to south, generally in the north along the Veer River, and then along this kind of highway here as it goes south. So that's where they want to be. So the 51st is taking Granville, securing that battery, and then watching the southern flank, pretty much. Then we've got 50th, the Taintees Division. They are in the center here, and, well, their objective is just to continue this movement forward through the center, across this river here, the Seine River. It's not the Seine, but the Seine River, I think. And just keep pressing, keep the momentum going forward, and they're going to be kind of the southern pivot on St. Lo. They're going to threaten the southern flank of St. Lo. Meanwhile, we've got the 3rd Infantry Division here landing in the first wave at Lance A Beach. They are to move inland and link up with American Airborne troopers over here. We're gonna get to that in a second. Meanwhile, the 7th Armored Division is going to land as a follow-up force and make its way directly to St. Lo, or to the area of St. Lo, and secure crossings across the Veer River. First Corps is the corps actually tasked with taking Cherbourg, initially, anyhow. First Corps has a paratrooper division to help them do this. Because they have less people actually on the beach, they're going to use this paratrooper division to land inland. And these are some highlighted drop zones that they think would be of important value, right? Or actually, this is the drop zone, I should say. This is the drop zone. And so their objective is to first land, second, go help break the British forces off the beach from the other side, and then third, move towards Cherbourg in unison with these special service brigades. Both British commando brigades are landing on a place called Kite B Beach, and they are going to help 6th Airborne drive towards Cherbourg, hopefully for a day 1 capture. That's the objective. Meanwhile, 49th Infantry Division, with its 3 brigades, is going to advance inland towards Briquebec and secure the southern flank of the 6th Airborne and the commandos. And the idea is that by the end of the day, they'll have this corridor open to Cherbourg. Hopefully, they'll have taken Cherbourg, but that's a little optimistic, so they're hoping to at least get to the outskirts and start establishing siege lines, or prepare for an attack the next day, cut off any remaining German forces in this peninsula to sweep them out later, and then hold this line open here. Now we get to the American landings. We've got 7th Corps in the south under J. Lawton Collins, and their objective is to link up with 3rd Infantry Division here, the British 3rd, and cut off the peninsula, as well as prepare to fight off a German counterattack from the east. They are aware that the 21st Panzer Division is in the area southwest of Caen, and so they think that the most likely avenue of approach is along the main roads through Bayeux, which would take them either through Carentan here, this major junction leading up into the peninsula, or through some of these towns here, Saint-Jean-de-Dié, right? All these towns. And so, or St. Lo, but that's a British problem if they do that. And so the idea is, if the 21st Panzer goes north, they're going to have these bridges along the Veer River secured that they can defend. And then also, if they go through St. Lo, the 7th Armored will be there with their tanks to fight a tank-on-tank battle around the Veer River. That's the hope, anyhow. Then we see that the 82nd Airborne is actually tasked with landing east of Carentan and then securing the Veer River bridges, while the 101st Airborne is tasked with landing northwest of Carentan, pretty near the historical drop zones for both divisions, to secure Saint-Mary-Église and the kind of highway here between Saint-Mary-Église and Carentan, as well as to provide a link-up point with the beach defenses, or with the beach units. And then after that, their objective is to both move on Carentan and move around Carentan to facilitate the link-up with the UK 3rd Division. So, a task-filled day for them. Meanwhile, the 82nd, after capturing those bridges, is just to hold those bridges against any possible counterattacks. Then the Rangers aren't actually landing here. They're landing here, as you've seen. There's a German battery here at La Hogue, and so they are tasked with taking that out, a point-to-hawk kind of situation. Meanwhile, the 4th ID is assigned to, well, land on Utah Beach, or in this case, Helena Beach is what they've called it, and move inland to Saint-Mary-Église, and then down to Carentan. And it's up to them and the 82nd Airborne, along with a couple of units of the 101st, to actually secure Carentan, taking that junction and denying it to the Germans. Stopping them are going to be the 91st Division, as we've seen. Then 5th Corps, landing with the 1st Infantry Division in the main wave, and then the 29th Infantry Division as a follow-up, are to land on Ohio Beach, just north of Helena, and link up with British 1st Corps on a drive towards Cherbourg. So their day 1 objectives are simply to break inland, and you can see pretty much that this is where they want to be at the end of day 1. And then next day, if the British are having trouble taking Cherbourg, they're to advance towards the town and assist on the opposite flank. So that's their plan. It's pretty simple. And overall, right, again, it's just cutting off the peninsula and then taking Cherbourg to secure a port. And then in the south here, 30 Corps is securing this area so that they can then use it as the exploitation mode, or the exploitation zone, where they can launch a breakout operation and then move towards Caen or wherever else they need to go. That is generally the plan. And if I draw I'll erase all of the lines here on the map and draw you, generally speaking, to the best of my knowledge, without having actually consulted it just now, the current front lines of the armies on this map here, because you can see it visualized across the whole peninsula. So I'll actually move all of the blocks away as well to just keep out the clutter. All right, here we go. And these shouldn't be too much of a bother over here. All right. So we've got at 0830 a couple pockets of resistance. The 352nd 916th Infantry Regiment actually is formed up around here. So we've got a pocket of Germans there. And then do we have any other pockets of German resistance? I don't think we actually have any pockets other than that. So we have a pocket there. And then I'll start drawing the Allied lines. So the Allies have secured the beach and have generally pushed up to here. The 101st Airborne has secured Saint-Mary-Église and is, generally speaking, though somewhat loosely, in control of this area here. The 82nd Airborne, meanwhile, has secured Isigny, has drawn up defensive lines here, has taken Carentan and is attempting to secure it. Well, actually, right? So that's pretty much the U.S. front line at the moment with 7th Corps. And then, of course, so this would be 7, and this is 5th Corps. And then you can see 101 and 82nd. So that's generally speaking the U.S., along with a Ranger element that has secured this area up here. I'll just put an R for Rangers. So that's what they've secured so far. Then we have the British. The British, meanwhile, have actually pressed up to around here and also up here. And so the British generally control that area. There's a German contingent here. And then we've got more British troops around here. So that is I Corps. That's what they've secured so far. And we've got pockets or the areas of strongest German resistance are here with 732, and then here generally with 919. So we've got two kind of main areas. There's a Pioneer Battalion guarding right here, and then of course the Fortress Regiment in Cherbourg. We've got German forces up here guarding this line, and then we've got German forces also establishing a new perimeter, generally along kind of this line. If I draw it here, this is kind of a new front line for them at the moment. It's kind of patchy, but that's generally where they're trying to form something new. There's a German regiment outside Carentan at the moment, just trying to bottle that up. And then there's German forces kind of in this area here, trying to, they were originally trying to retake Isigny, but so far that hasn't worked out too well for them. If we move down to 30 Corps section, they meanwhile have pretty much taken 3rd ID has secured this area, generally speaking. 50th is kind of like this at the moment, I believe, and 51st is kind of carrying on like that. So that would be 30 Corps. And that's generally what the front lines look like at the moment. The 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division is kind of making a spotty defense line here. And so the big things that we want to watch out for in 0830 going forward are going to be, one, the British 7th Armored Division is landing, and so they're going to be beginning their drive towards Saint-Lô very soon. So they're going to be pressing inland. And then also 21st Panzer is on the move. They've gone through Villers-Bocage and are about to actually get to Caumont and then Saint-Lô. And so we're going to see whether 21st Panzer gets to Saint-Lô and then moves north to assist German forces in the peninsula, or west to assist 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division. And that's going to be an interesting decision that the German commander is going to have to make. Now, with all that summarized, very lightly, that should give you some context for what the Allies and Germans are hoping to do. Again, I'll kind of summarize the German deployment just in case you were kind of not quite sure what's going on with the German deployment. So 709th Infantry Division is guarding this area. That's 709. They got one regiment. 709. And here's how they're dividing their regiments. They've got a regiment guarding this area, a regiment guarding this area, so 732, I think this is 732, and then this is 729, I think, or I forget, but so we got a regiment here, regiment here, regiment here, and regiment here, generally. This is 919 here. So 732 and 919, these two regiments on the west coast are the heaviest engaged at the moment, plus some divisional assets. So that's 709th. 352nd, meanwhile, is holding this sector. So that's 352nd. They wanted to put their crack division on this beach because they figured it was a likely Allied landing spot, the 352nd being their most talented or capable combat formation other than the Panzer Division. So they put it there, kind of concentrated, because this is where they really expect an Allied landing to occur. And they were right. They guessed right. And the 352nd has done a good job of holding up the Americans so far. Meanwhile, the 91st Luftwanda Division is formed up in an area, actually formed up generally like so within this sector. I misdrew it again. My goodness. They're formed up like so. So this is 91. And they're kind of a reserve formation, guarding against paradrops, right? That's kind of their purpose. So that's 3 divisions all in this little peninsula here. So the Germans have definitely concentrated their force in the right area. But again, they're outnumbered, and they always will be. Then we've got on this entire 60-kilometer front of beach here, this entire area is 3rd Fallschirmjäger Division. They weren't quite expecting a landing here. They didn't think the Allies would try to land this far south, but they put this division here just in case. Then the 711th Infantry Division is guarding this area. So this is 711. And then the 243rd Infantry Division is guarding this area. So this is 243. And then 716th is guarding here. And of course, 21 Panzer is deployed actually in and around Caen, generally in this area. That was their starting deployment. And of course, it's changed now that they're moving stuff around. Yeah, that's true, Sean. I did tell them to put 3rd Fallschirmjäger here. That's true. I did tell them to do that. But anyhow, I was like, yeah, they need to guard their coastlines. But that's neither here nor there. Anyhow, that's pretty much a summary of the German deployment, and I've already given you the Allied plan and kind of where the front lines are. So hopefully this little primer will help you visualize the overall situation when you're looking at the regular streams where we're actually umpiring each individual sector. And with that all out of the way, I will take just a couple-minute break, and I will join you once again in just a few minutes here with the 0900 resolution for the Saint-Lô sector here and the Caen sector.